Don't get it twisted. You're not watching anything from Hollywood, made in Nigeria. And the man responsible for that is right here with us in the studio. Fedi Ladi Adimife, CEO, founder, Magic Carpet Studios, creator, producer, educator, pastor, politician. What else?
Wow, that's a lot.
I didn't lie, right?
Yeah,
It's all
I've been all of that.
It's good to see you again.
Good to be here.
The last time we had a conversation, it was quite a delight, and I'm sure we're going to have the same and even better experience this time. But I just told the people that came from you.
Yes.
So maybe you can tell the people what that is.
Well, that's an adaptation of the novel, The Passport of Madame Ilia. I read it in GSS 3. And if you remember reading that novel, for most of us who read it, it was very cinematic. It had all the fighting scenes, the war, the horse racing. So it was set in 19th century Kano during the invasion of the British. So it was quite interesting to see what the author did. And when I started in the industry, I really wanted us to put something on the table that would travel. Animation is very much a global export. And I think one thing that is helping us drive that adoption now is our diaspora crowd. Japa is adding up in a very strange way. For people are nostalgic, they want to experience home away from home. And even if you look at the YouTube content creators, what is feeding a lot of the traffic is actually the diaspora crowd, because that's where you have the money. Right, so for animation, we want to be able to create African stories that can travel. I think we have everything here. In December last year, Disney released Mufasa, and that's the same story from Lion King, just the flip side of the backstory. So you realize the West is really in the bid to recycle old stories. And I really think for us in Africa, we're sitting on everything that we can do with them. From pre-colonial Africa to prehistoric Africa, every piece of history is an IP. Right, and I think there's a disconnect in Nigeria here because the investment community doesn't quite see intellectual property or creative industry as bankable, and justifiably so. Some of them will tell you we tried it and we got burnt. But I really think that that should never discourage anyone, because 5 years ago and 10 years ago, it's no longer where we are. The industry has grown. I mean, to even attend something like this 5 years ago was very tough, because that was when we started. There was no capacity, there was no capital. Literally everyone working on this project, we trained about 90% of them for about 3 years. So you literally have to build your own pipeline to make your film. You have to start sourcing for your own capital. You even have to reinvest your own money. So we did a job for Cartoon Network and Sesame Street, and everything went whoop, right, into this project, because at the end of the day, it just takes one project to open the continent to the rest of the world.
So what do we need the most to be able to replicate this and tell our stories even more? Is it more skilling, or more capacity financially, or both?
It's a combination of all of that. I think on the capital side, when it comes to creative industry, particularly animation, you might go 2-3 years in production. So you require patient capital to do that. And also on the side of the capacity, no university in Nigeria offers animation as a course. So if you meet an animator or one who specializes in any form of animation, they literally have to self-learn from YouTube. So if we want to standardize and make it exportable, I mean, we launched a school like 4 years ago just to solve that problem. So I wasn't ready to become an educator. I mean, I love to teach, but I was forced to create something because I needed a solution. But at the end of the day, it turns out that that's exactly what we need as an industry. So there's a capital side. We need it to be patient. We need it to be well structured. There are also policy angles to this whole thing, right? If you're co-producing with countries in France, because animation is expensive, usually they have tax incentives. So they get about 40% tax rebate from the government, right? So they attract jobs because of the tax side of things. And again, the IP side in Nigeria is not necessarily identified or recognized as collateral. So if you're building an IP-based asset base, you need to find creative ways to improve that value before you go to raise funds. Because people don't necessarily think because you have a great story, then you have something that they can back. They want a real structure. They want facility, they want land, right? They want money in the bank. And I think that's where creative industry has been stuck for so long. And if we're going to solve unemployment issues, we need to create jobs. And creativity is the only way I think we can do that. Animation tends to combine fashion, music, because there's going to be a music side to this whole thing, which is very exciting for me because I have a music side that I never quite lived. As a writer and someone who is also a poet, I love to see lines come alive. I keep lines in my head, they keep coming back to me. So every time I'm watching a movie, I'm interacting, what could be said here, how should this have gone, right? So I'm talking with my director, it's almost like you get in their business all the time. But I think that's the passion. Creativity is, for many people who do in entrepreneurship in the creative economy, there's almost a sense of calling. just even listening to Bemi's story, putting everything on the line, emptying all that you are into your own stuff. I don't know that many industries demand that from you. For the gestation period in trading, maybe 3 months, 6 months. Creativity, your passion is involved, so you might be blindsided. You might not see the risks everybody's seeing. You might linger longer than anyone else. And so it's tough, but I really think when it crosses and when it scales, you're the most fulfilled.
Add to that list, singer, songwriter, to
Singer
Jeffrey's
part,
list.
not very fast. Songwriter, yes.
Okay, poet, yes.
Yeah, I love that.
All
I
right.
love poetry.
You were right when you talked about how Europe or the West is even looking the way of Africa for the stories and, recycling even old stories. And we have a number of them. But I'm wondering whether we're just high on the richness of the stories and we're getting lost on the didactic quality of these stories. We're telling these stories, it's mirroring our past, the mistakes we made, but there is no reformation. Does that worry you when you look at the abundance of the stories that we have, yet there's very little change?
I really don't think that, to my mind, reformation is an entire kettle of fish. To drive reformation, you need stories, but you need more than stories. You need educators, you need parents who know what they're doing. You need a government who can actually show that sort of reformation is driven on different levels, the policy side to it. So if I feel like as a continent and as a country, we're not leveraging on the quality of stories we have to bring ourselves into new civilization, I would want to look at the entire ecosystem, right? What does it take to really reform the minds? I believe that stories are powerful. They change identity. They help people see. They empower vision. But more importantly, to really, really bring a society into a new world, you need more than that. Education has to be functional. And what type of education are they learning now, right? Most of what we're studying in school today are outdated. A lot of graduates who graduate without any job because the courses they're studying today were structured for 20, 30 years world that no longer exist. So there is a need for you to pace up and upskill. I mean, I was pushing to integrate animation in Nigerian universities, and I was directed to go to AUC, and I was going to pursue that thing for 5 years because it takes 5 years to add a course. But it takes 1 month for AI to upscale, to bring new tools. So there is a very disconnect here. You're going at a pace of a world that our education has to speed up, the policies have to be together. I really think we need a very solid intervention, right, of people who can come together. There is also synergy, right? We need to see that everybody is doing their own parts. If you're an educator, how do you open the minds of the children to be curious, right? Because I personally think that the 21st century Nigerian has a lot of trauma they need to heal from. And I no offense, but just being raised as an African child with the pressure to perform from school, your grades were your what? Most Nigerian children get sort of adjusted to all of these things. And when they show up in the workplace, if they're not doing well, it's taking a toll on their mental health, right? We need to rewire our world, right? Let people feel they create from freedom, not for freedom. They create from a sense of adequacy, not to attain adequacy, because it just takes away from the creative process when your creativity is hustle, right? You don't first have to come from it as hustle. It has to come from it as an innate expression of beauty and wonder, that you're contributing something that the world desperately needs and that the world would love to see.
Freddie, we wanted to just talk about animation, but it's amazing where this conversation has taken us to. No, really, yeah. And I think it touched something on my inside. I don't know why I'm even getting emotional. What's going on? Let's talk about the animation. You said a lot of things, how every piece of history is an IP. I mean, that hit me. And I think it's something we should really hold on to. You talked about patient capital, and I'll come to that. But what also struck me is the fact that it takes 5 years to add a course. And as you said, AI is
doing that by a second.
By the second. So we need to rethink that if we are really serious about that. And I think we can make something happen. But let's come back to the work you're doing. I want to see it as soon as tomorrow. I want to be able to go watch this. 90 minutes or
yeah, it's 90 minutes.
90 minutes. I want to watch it tomorrow, but clearly there are a lot of hurdles for you to cross. So where are you now with this project? What do we need to ensure this project comes out and becomes the success that it deserves to be, not just in Nigeria, not just Africa, but globally?
Okay, so thanks for bringing me here. We are at the completion stage, right? We want to get it out in December. And if you know anything about Dirty December, it has to be dirty this year for us. For whatever intent, that's actually where the capital flows into Nigeria. But interestingly, the challenge again is the capital gap. We've done a lot of work and we've raised some funds. I really think for the first time in a long time, investors are like, okay, guys, I see what this can potentially be. It also helping us that Iwaju came out last year and Iyanu just came out. So there is this HBO series. Most of those IPs are acquired are Nigerian themed, sometimes Nigerian voiced, but not Nigerian made, and hardly ever Nigerian owned, right? And the money flows where the IP is, right? So at the end of the day, we want to localize it. We've had interest for people to buy up this project from the West. But if we sell it, we'll be rich, but we'll lose the power to tell their stories. Because at the end of the day, there is a way to interpret and position your culture from an authentic lens that you intuitively know that the white or the other cultures might not appreciate. Anime did not have to compromise who they were to get global acceptance. But the black man is always forced to compensate, pontificate, and apologize for being who we are. And I think that if we don't back ourselves, we're in a long journey, man.
We're happy. We're happy at the guardrail.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yes, and that's what we're
still
here.
Need money is also what I'm trying to say.
No, we do need, I think we have about 350K capital shortfall, but it's coming on well. One of the things I've learned with respect to the funding is that it's already speaking to people, right? But once all you need in Nigeria is just prove it, and everybody will fall in line.
And we'll prove it this year, Fedi. Ladi Adimife, CEO, founder, Magic Carpet Studios, creator, producer, educator, passionate, articulate gentleman. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for holding the fort. Thank you for not making money for personal interest against what you should have been doing for Africa. So that's why we brought you here to support you, and we hope that the December will really be dirty for you.
Yes, and I think you guys will get your premier tickets for always bringing.
We are there. When I go to cinemas, I really don't like watching foreign movies. It's just like a personal policy. I just like to enjoy Nigerian movies. It's my little way of saying thank you, Nigeria, for doing what you do.
And I'm going to go back and read the passport of Malam Ilya, by the way.
And you guys should prepare to voice, because I think this voice is not just for you. Bimi was talking about multiple streams of income. You'll be so surprised what a good director will do with your voice.
Okay, no problem. We'll consult you for that.
I will be in touch.
Thank you.